Hello everyone, it's Cici from JustKidi Photography. Today I'm going to show you how I edit a typical newborn with some jaundice and some skin retouching skills. Firstly, I'm gonna move these red spots using the spot healing tool. There's this patch tool, like a band-aid icon. You can quickly remove these red spots and the flakes as well. I wouldn't worry too much about the redness. So the next step is to remove the reds. I use LSP actions. It's a set of actions we purchased from LSP Lemon Sky Lemon Sky Action. There's a website, you can Google it. So remove the reds. And it automatically creates a black layer, which is a mask. So I use a white brush to just paint over where you want the redness to be reduced. The opacity is 14%, so I want to increase a little bit to go over the body part. It's very red. I don't usually go 100% opacity. I prefer going slowly, one at a time. So if you think the red is still very red, we can run the action again. Okay. I think it's pretty good. It's getting gray. If you got too much, it's getting gray in this area here, but I'm not going to worry about it for now. So it's before, after. Merge the layers, duplicate one layer, and there's an action called Go Away Reds Extra. That's how you want to just do the very red babies. The hands are quite red as well. On the arms. It's okay on the face, so I'm not going to brush too much. Here, because like I said before, it's very gray. There's an action called Gray Skin Booster. I click that one. It's also a black mask. Use a white brush. About 20% opacity is okay. Just it slightly lifts up the skin tone to the yellow. It's before and after. It's brighten up a little bit with a little bit yellowness in there. Obviously the baby is very yellow, but it's okay. I can remove the yellow, the jaundice. Then bye jaundice action. Now this one, opacity 23% is okay. 20-30% is a good opacity to start with. I'm using a mouse at the moment. It would be better if you have a Wacom pad. Yellow before and after. See, the yellowness has gone a little bit. And here at the arms, on his tummy. Eyes. Okay, and then match skin. Sorry, match layers. So looking at the overall picture, I'm still thinking his eyes and the face is a little bit yellow. It's around the jaundice action again. I'm gonna just paint his face a little bit more. Here at the arm. Yeah, it's before and after. He's still looking very red. So the reducer red. He's super red. He's not our usual babies. He's an it's quite rare that we have a baby with jaundice and redness and skin flakes and everything all together. It's very hard to edit, but I'm just going to I want to show you this as an example, so that you know how the for skin editing, the normal procedure goes for the skin editing. Okay. Now I'm gonna run the action called Newborn Skin Perfection. It's a series of, it's a set of layers. See, it generates a set of layers. So starting from the bottom, I usually start from the bottom. If you want to go from the top, it's okay. The last layer is the skin fix layer. So if you use a white brush, I usually start with 100%, just to brush where you want the skin to be blurred. This way you want the blotchy skin will be improved. And also here at his tummy. Avoid those details like edges, eyelashes, eyes. He doesn't have eyelashes. He's got eyes, and the brows, nose bridge, these important details, you don't want to lose them. And the hair as well, I wouldn't do the hair. Then the second last blotchy skin fix. Same thing, go over the skin area where you want the smooth skin. effect. Softer skin, same thing. And skin with texture, because now you can see his texture has been removed on his skin. What this layer does is it brings back the texture. I don't want 100%. The brush goes about 30 to 50%. Just brush over the skin area, especially the eyelashes and the brows and the lips. This before and after, before, after. Detail pop depends on if the baby has big eyes and long lashes. Because he doesn't have long lashes, I can do this one or not. Doesn't make too much difference. Contrast adds a little bit contrast to the shadows. It's a very contrasty image, so it's okay if you don't use this layer at all. Doesn't change too much. Yeah, it brings down the mute effect. So it's before and after, makes the black a little bit blacker. Toner is a color tone, gives baby a little bit yellow tone to the skin. Okay, before, after, before and after. Milky Bright, this layer I don't usually use it, or maybe I use a little bit, just to paint over where you want the highlight to go. Sometimes if the highlight is not strong enough, I use this layer to emphasize the highlights. Eyeballs. Before and after. Before, after. If you think it's too strong, you can always lower the opacity of this layer. And here he's very red. I want to reduce some reds here. Okay, so merge all these layers. This is how it looked before all the editing, and it's how it looks now. I think he's still quite red. He's super red. I've run the reds action a few times. Still has some reds in his skin. Sometimes the Asian babies are just the way it is. They can't be as pale as the Caucasians. But it's okay, as long as it's a healthy skin. You don't have to remove to 100%, because if you remove all the redness, it turns out the baby's looking yellow. And when you remove the yellow, like I'm going to run the jaundice to remove the yellow again. You remove too much of the yellow, he looks pale and he looks grey. He doesn't look alive to me. So I would add the grey skin booster, which adds a bit of yellow. But this action I run because I add the yellowness to the whole body. It's an overall color tone. It lifts up the skin tone. Rather than being grey, I prefer him being a little bit yellow. I can reduce the opacity. Yeah. I think his skin is good for now. So the next step is to duplicate another layer to fix the blanket, smooth out this blanket. I use a selection tool, lasso tool. Use the feather, we put about 20 pixels to the feather. And we're gonna select the baby. You don't have to go to the outline of his body. Just go a little bit, a few pixels, like 10, 15 pixels around his outline. Control C, copy layer, Control V, paste layer. And he's looking like this. And select this layer. Invert selection. Shift Command I, invert. And Control C, Control V. So now I'm only going to show this layer. I'll bring it to the top layer. I'll use the cologne tool. There's a million ways to fix the skin wrinkles. Actually, in LSP action set, there's a action called Blanket Crease Fix. Let me try. Actually, it doesn't work with this layer. I'm just gonna use my usual way. If you don't have the action set, you can use the cologne tool, stamping cologne. Just stamp this area you want to remove the wrinkles, and quickly go through these wrinkles, especially around the outline. These places where it has texture, I don't usually cologne a lot because it messes up with the texture, if that's what you want to keep. But if you want to smooth out and want to blur out, you can just go over these areas. But I want to keep the texture. Okay, so I'm happy with this. Go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. The pixel, it depends. You can side left or to the right it's blurred more. I want to just so that I don't see the texture at the background. Hit OK, because I think now this is too much. This contrast is too much. I use a paint P for paint tool. Just gradient to the brush the gradient to the shadow area. And here it's blotchy, so use the brush tool. See how baby went? Actually, I want to turn off this layer and show the bottom layer. You don't actually need to copy the baby's layer. Skip this one and just copy the blanket layer. Now I create a white mask using a black brush, B for brush, and X to bring the color to the foreground. And about 50% opacity brush. You brush the baby's area so he's not blurry. This is where I want the texture to be. White brush. I don't like to 100% because how I have this left side with a bit of texture, so to the right side I will still leave like 60% opacity. Merge. I'm gonna run the blanket crease fix action. Actually, I'm gonna just go back because the previously the action wasn't run completely, so it was just halfway through. Create a new layer, run the blanket fix. Somehow it just doesn't work with the second layer. It's okay. Now I wanted to remove these stamping tool because I was thinking because he's the way he lies down and because I don't want to remove the texture, it's a little bit tricky to completely remove the wrinkles. I wouldn't mind leaving some of these here. I'm quite happy with this now. I think it would spend me too much time to remove these little winkles. So it gives you an idea how I fix winkles, but I would, for this particular image, I wouldn't bother to remove everything, to smooth out everything. It would be better if next time, so keep in mind, don't have a textured layer underneath the blanket that you should, especially the top view. It's tricky to remove the texture underneath. The final step for me in this image is to remove to add a little bit vignette to this corner here, because the light is coming this way and I wanted this area to be a bit darker. So create a new layer, use a brush, beaver brush, pick option and shift, I think, alt for Windows and option for Mac. Pick a color, opacity to about 30, 25, 30%, maybe 30%. Opacity, and add some vignette. Before, after. Can add a little bit more. Reduce the opacity. Command E for merge. Okay, so it's finished. Let's see the before and after comparison. Before and that's after. Okay, hope you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.